This is the Political Spotlight.
The Political Spotlight is a joke. It's more like a political flop.
Nobody listens to Bilbrey.
He's just a wannabe podcaster. No one takes him seriously.
He is a rude, crude dude that will never go any further than broadcasting from his mother's basement.
Bilbrey is a wrecking ball for Indiana politicians.
Grab another box of Twinkies and generic cola, Bilbrey.
And get back to your microphone and your audience of nobodies.
The Political Spotlight is a joke.
He is like a rude, crude dude that will never go
There is a wrecking ball for Indiana politics. Shut that stupid Bilbrey up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is the 639th episode of the Political Spotlight. I am your host, Kristopher H. Bilbrey, and it's been a nice day, but it's cold down here for some reason. I don't understand why it's cold in here all of a sudden. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're having a good evening. It is Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. It is 9:02 p.m. Eastern, and we are back at it tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We have, as Alva has said, the gambler. Maybe we'll talk about that here in a little bit and see what he has to say. We're going to be talking to him about all kinds of things as it relates to the Henry County Sheriff's race. This is yet again another candidate running for sheriff of Henry County. For everybody says, man, haven't we done enough of those? There are going to be a lot of them through this process. There are 7 candidates in total, 2 Democrats. We've heard from one of them. There are 5 Republicans. I've reached out to all of the candidates, and I've heard back from, I think I've heard back from all but 3 of them. 2 of them I didn't know that I would probably wouldn't. I thought I wouldn't hear back from, but one of them I'm still waiting. We'll see. But we'll let you know those names as we get closer. The name that you need to know for this evening is Mr. Jim Nicholson. Jim is currently is a Newcastle City police officer. Newcastle, where he has spent the last 36 years of his life serving the men and women of the city of Newcastle and beyond. Served there for 36 years. He is currently serving at the rank of captain, and 8 of those years he served as the chief of police of the Newcastle City Police Department. But towards the end of that career, and I'm not trying to say the end, I don't know how long he's planning on working, but towards this half of the career, he's thought maybe he should serve in a different role, and that role would be the sheriff of Henry County. He ran 4 years ago and was unsuccessful in that bid in the primary, but thought he would throw his hat in the ring again and try again. Sometimes it's, the second time gets it. For political campaigns, but we're going to be talking with him and seeing what he has to say about the state of Henry County, the state of the sheriff's department, and what his plans are moving forward. We're going to be bringing him on here in just a few moments. I do want to let everybody know that I'm working on a couple of other stories for things that have currently been going on in and around East Central Indiana, a couple things related to Muncie, a couple things going on in Madison County. But we've got nothing really gelling at the moment. So this evening, we'll probably do the interview, and that will be that. So tonight might not be the regular hour and a half, 2-hour long show, because we don't really have anything put together after the interview. So that's going to be okay, because we have a lot of work coming up the next couple of weeks. So sometimes when it's just the interview, that'll be that. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring up our guest of the hour, Mr. Jim Nicholson, Captain Nicholson of the Newcastle City Police Department, running for sheriff of Henry County. Captain Nicholson, how's it going?
Fine, Chris.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Thank you for the invite tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you're here, and we were able to connect with you and have you on. I Did we talk with you 4 years ago? Did we have you on? You might have called in.
You did?
I think you did the call in thing. Yeah, I think
Yes.
I've slept since then, so it runs together. But yeah, so this is actually your second time on the program. I think at that time it was just a call in, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got you on screen, and so why don't we just start off here at the beginning of the show, and you give a little bit of biography of who you are, why you're running, what's kind of in your head right now.
Okay. First of all, Jim Nicholson, and lifelong resident of Newcastle, Henry County, Indiana, and basically I've been arrested in law enforcement since I was a kid. Cops, robbers, typical playing emergency services when you're a kid, and kind of like most guys that choose this career, just enjoyed it, and I've made it my career. So
very good. And so you said a lifelong resident of Newcastle, Henry County.
Yes.
Okay. And well, what made you start thinking or deciding to make the jump and decide to run for sheriff? Obviously you ran 4 years ago. What in your mind thought, man, that's maybe something I ought to check out?
Well, that's something that I've wanted to do. I mean, I've had that on my mind for ever since I became interested in law enforcement. Sure. And actually, became more interested in law enforcement as a teenager when I was 14 years of age, and joined the Explorer Scout program through the Sheriff's Department, and served with them until I went to college and attended Vincennes University. And then from there, served my college internship with the Sheriff's Department. And during that time, that summer, I was hired at Knightstown Police Department. So,
okay, how long were you on Knightstown?
Well, I was Knightstown as a dispatcher. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
I got ahead of myself there.
No, you're fine.
No, and then actually came home on the weekends, worked at Knightstown my second year in college, and then upon getting my degree, tested the next week with the state police out of the Pendleton Post, and was hired, and spent 3 years as a communications officer with District 51.
Okay.
But prior to that, I'd received my associate's degree from Vincennes University. So.
Okay. And we're just right off the bat, we got a question from the audience who says, if you're sheriff, is there a thought about bringing the Explorer program back? Is that something that could happen, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yes, I would like to partner and maybe do it maybe a little bit different. It may either be an Explorer Scout program or a law enforcement or emergency services cadet program where we would have police, fire, EMS.
Oh, that would be cool.
All involved. And excuse me, I'm about to lose my voice today.
No, you're fine.
But through our career center here at Newcastle, we have a firefighter program, EMS, where the students eventually get certified as EMTs. And also, I believe through the fire service program, they get their firefighter 1 and 2 certifications. And those courses are taught, the fire programs taught by Tim Welch, who's a retired battalion chief from the city of Newcastle. And then we have a law enforcement instructor that teaches the law class. And then the EMS program is actually this year, it's being taught, the EMT program is being taught by Battalion Chief Welch also.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of a cool idea, because not everybody's necessarily aimed at law enforcement. It'd be kind of cool to see Correct. EMS in there, or fire. That would be
right.
Be cool.
But we could also have if we get the cadet program off the ground, we could actually have the advisors from law enforcement, from EMS, and from the fire service.
Yeah.
And, that would be something that, I kind of took it when I was an Explorer Scout. That was the time to serve, but also learn.
Sure.
So it wasn't really as much into protection, but
Yeah.
it was an opportunity to serve and learn, and serve my community. So
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a cool idea. And it's something I feel like that's something well, maybe because a lot of programs have ended or whatnot, but I feel like in law enforcement, that's something that a lot of the older guys, you hear a bunch of people talk about, I got involved with the Explorer, Scout program, but you don't hear that as much from the new, guys coming on because the programs don't exist. So it's definitely a cool thing that would be good to bring back. You're a little bit different than a lot of the other people that run, or a lot of people that run for sheriff in general, because a lot of people will have rank and they will have served in smaller leadership roles as sergeant or lieutenant, captain, whatever. But you've actually led a department for 8 years.
Yes.
And you've been the top cop of a department. How many officers on Newcastle Police Department when you were chief? How many people did you lead?
Well, we started out with 39, but through it really wasn't our desire, but we actually had reduced down at one time to 36 due to the property tax cuts in 2004. That was one of the first things that occurred in 2004. We walked in the door and we learned about Senate Bill 1, the Senate Bill 1 of 2004.
Yeah,
here we are
right.
again. There was another one in 2000. I want to say, what was it, 10 or 11? And then we went through, and we're going through one now. So.
Yeah.
And it's really a burden that the state has placed on local municipalities, and in return, local governments, county, city, are having to find other ways through the lowest taxes to raise funds.
Sure.
I mean, if people want the same type of service and officers to patrol and working officers, city, county, towns, firefighters, EMS, then we have to find a way to fund it. So, but the state's putting that burden on local communities, taking away from state government officials. So, one thing the municipalities, the counties, we need is, cooperation from the state, and to see funds come back to local government.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking about that, and then obviously everyone's pretty aware of the current situation that the Henry County Sheriff's Department has been facing for a little bit. Just kind of across the board, departments are going to have to cut costs and do all of that. But the Henry County Sheriff's Department is in a specifically is in a crunch. How can you cut costs, or what ways do you think as sheriff you could do that if elected? How would you be able to do that and still function with the same level of service? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, not knowing exactly what the budget's going to look like January 1st of 2027, it's hard to predict right now. We would, first of all, have to work with the county insurance carriers, and I would like to come up with their thoughts and ideas that they might have. That's what this is all about. Cooperation. We're going to have better cooperation with all our stakeholders, the other county elected officials, the county commissioners, the county council, and all our local governments. So
yeah, absolutely. One of the questions that I know is on everybody's mind, and it's definitely something that we've hit on hard here, because that's definitely a point of contention. I think that the insurance companies, the two that have left or dropped Henry County back in January of 24, and then again here recently, Josh Estel, the county's insurance man, has said that the insurance companies have specifically used the phrase risk management, that the sheriff's department, at first they said that the first time they said they were dropping the sheriff of the county because of a lack of risk management with the sheriff. And then the second time, it seems, and I kind of predicted this, that at first you'd have issues with the sheriff, and then that would kind of bleed out to the rest of the guys and the gals on the department. And I think that I've kind of been proven right, because now the new company that's dropped has stated that there's like a kind of a culture of risk management issues throughout. As sheriff, what would you do to be able to shore that up and to bring that back into check?
Well, I believe through training and ensuring that SOPs and policy are followed. And that's another thing we'll have to talk with the insurance folks on, whether it be the agent, our local agent who assist in those matters, as well as the insurance companies themselves that have that liability coverage on us. But it's something that we're going to have to work together on. And I'm not going to sit there and blame anyone else. We need to find out what we need to do, but it probably all starts with training and following policy. So
I think that would. Yeah, I think that's I think that's something that has to be drilled into the minds of all of the newer officers, and it needs to be, remembered by the people who are up the rank and file, that, you got to stick to policy, and everybody has to stick to that. As far as that goes, one of the things that I know has been an issue in Henry County, and really it's been more of an issue in Henry County than I've heard in a lot of other locations, and it's something I follow. I was in law enforcement myself, and so I definitely look to this, and I really don't hear these issues, but it seems like Henry County has had several issues that have started or happened because of law enforcement officers, specifically deputies, taking actions while off duty. And my question to you is, what, how do you look at that? Because obviously law enforcement officers are police officers, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. But there has to be, a point between, yes, we take action, no, we don't take action. This ranks to the highest level of, we need to do something. What are your thoughts on that? Well,
basically, you're kind of caught in a catch-22 position, because it's happened to me before, where I've been off duty, and somebody actually put on Facebook here not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, something about, well, I remember Jim Nicholson, and he stopped me. He gave me my first ticket, and he was off duty. And actually, I don't remember that, but I did look it up, and it wasn't another officer that wrote the citation to him. It was actually me, but I did have to have a marked car stop him.
Yes.
I was actually in my personal vehicle, and my make it funny, my wife was taking me into work, dropping me off, and on the way in, the car beside us just lit their tires up, and I kind of gave him the thumbs up to pull over to the next parking lot. So, and then had someone come down there and with a citation book. So
yeah.
Now that's back 30, probably over 30 some years ago, probably 35 years ago. So
Yeah, a little bit different time. Time back then. I think law enforcement, as everybody knows, it's obviously changes, and I think we're to a point where used to it was like in 10-year chunks. Like law enforcement kind of changed. You had like a decade where everything kind of stayed the same, but now it's almost like every 2 to 3 years, technology and laws and things are changing to where law enforcement is not the same now as it was 2 or 3 years ago, and it won't be the same in 2 or 3 years as it is today. So that's definitely important.
Well, it's a lot of it's the generational gap. It's
yeah.
I mean, when I came on, you didn't question what your one of your bosses told you to do. If your captain or lieutenant told you to go down the middle of State Road 3 and 38 in direct traffic, you went to 3 and 38 in direct traffic until you were relieved. So, but I mean, there's old kind of war stories that I've heard from old timers when they used to have to, when they would get disciplined, they'd either be sent to the first aid unit, which is the EMS now, or they would be sent out to the city dump out in the country and have to sit out there. So you can't do that with these young officers today. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a couple good questions here in the comments that folks are asking. One is from Eric Lewis of the Knightstown area. He says, Sheriff Sproles said that he would continue to address mental health issues in the jail with chaplains. Would you provide treatment for mentally ill differently? What's your thoughts on that program, and how would you run help for mentally ill in the jail?
Well, actually, for something like that, we will have chaplains still, but it's for something counseling services and stuff like that. We would need to have probably at a minimum, maybe a licensed clinical social worker on staff or on contract that could work there. I believe the jail does have that now. I know in the past they did, and usually it was a contracted service, and I don't know if they were there daily. I can kind of remember back in the day, a lot of the things that's going on now in the jail with certain activities, whether it be religious activities, with baptisms and stuff of that nature. People need to understand that stuff has gone on for decades. Since I was around clear back in 1981 and being around the jail and sheriff's office, that stuff, and then working there in the jail, that stuff went on back in the 1980s and 1990s.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. It's just being, I don't want to tactfully say this, but it's something it's been going on for years, but I think it's being more publicized now.
Yes.
And on social media for attention. And, the way I look at it, that stuff is private between, the incarcerated individuals and their family or their, minister.
Yeah.
That's something, baptisms were going on. We even had a couple weddings take place in the old jail back in the 80s. And I know they occurred in the 90s.
Yeah.
But that's nothing new. And then on special occasions, in the old jail, we had the visitation booths. And on certain holidays, as long as the inmates, incarcerated individuals that are there in the jail, the offenders, as long as they'd been good, their families were invited up, and they could, it was behind,
sure,
glass, but that stuff is, private, and I still believe it would be, and I do have an idea where I don't have to be the master of ceremonies. It's not about me. It's not about that position. I would like to see that those offenders that are incarcerated for over 6 months, and as long as they have that continued good behavior, that we could either sell it on commissary or maybe it's a service we could provide to them, but each offender would be given a thumb drive, and they could videotape messages to their family.
Sure.
So as long as, we don't need any obscenity on there or sexual acts or anything like that. But I mean, it's something that could be private,
Certainly.
I don't mind standing behind the camera and be the one videotaping.
Sure.
And during a baptism or during church service, or when they want to say hi to their families on the holidays or birthdays, but special occasions, I don't feel like I need to be the one out there with them. I mean, I'm also not the one, or the sheriff isn't the one that's in there in the jail every single day watching them.
Yeah.
That's why we have a jail commander or assistant jail commander, supervisors within the corrections area. So. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's good. I think probably kind of the issue that I have, I'm a religious person. I'm a Christian, and I have no problem with the baptisms. I feel like the way it's kind of being used now, I almost feel like you've got people that don't have a choice on whether or not, like maybe that's a real part. To me, my faith is very private to me. And I'm not, maybe I'm wrong for that, but I'm not out here beating people over the head with it or whatever. And I feel like some of these people are maybe in that same position, but they feel like they can't say, no, I don't want to be in a photo op. They feel like they don't have that ability because of where they are and who's doing it to say, I would rather not do this publicly or whatever, and I see where you're coming from there, and I think that's definitely.
I hope that makes sense. I mean,
definitely, absolutely.
A squirrel in the room, and it took off, and I kind of followed through. But back to the.
No, you're fine.
I hope that answered. I believe it was Eric's question.
Yeah. No, he said he was happy to hear what you said. Yeah. But, that was good.
I'm very, very much into the mental health now. I'm CIT certified, along with several other officers within Newcastle Police Department, the Sheriff's Office, as well as the town police officers. It's something that that's changed from 36 years ago, and it's changed. Several years ago when they started talking about all the new programs, the drug courts and all that stuff, some of us were, well, let's see, what are they going to, what are they going to do? Hold their hand, but you know what? I've come to realize that those services are needed. And the more and more I have dealt with the public the last several years, and those that have been affected with mental illness and with, I heard this a long time ago, and I can't remember. It was on a special, some special presentation or movie that I watched, or news service, that, some of these individuals, the hardcore drug users, have also, given themselves TBIs, traumatic brain injury.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And that's something at first I was like, well, but, we see it daily.
Yeah.
And, I have more, and that comes with maturity, and getting older, but I see it as being more compassionate and just wanting to help. So
certainly,
and it's not, there's times we have to lock people up, but there's also times that we can, we have to get stern with them, but we also have to show that empathy and help people. That's why we all become police officers in the first place. So,
absolutely.
I mean, people's emotions can get the best of them. So.
Oh yeah, sir. Yeah, 100%. Moving on into a little bit different direction. One of the things that's facing law enforcement today, and definitely is an issue for citizens, and it's the point of contention for a lot of people, is the use of the flock camera systems and things like that. And what is your feelings and your thoughts on the flock camera system as a leader of the police department? I'm certain that they didn't use flock cameras when you were chief, because they're new.
Yeah,
but
they're
you
new.
have led departments, or you have led a department. And so if you were elected to sheriff, what's your thought on these cameras and the pushback for the Fourth Amendment issues? How do you balance that?
Well, I believe, a lot of the credit I need to give to our present administration, Chief Schofield, Assistant Chief Wardlow, and, Assistant Chief Wardlow was very big, along with Chief Schofield, bringing that system to Newcastle. And we actually have stationary flock cameras, not mobile. They're not on patrol cars. So they're in different areas of town, different areas of the city. But those flock cameras have come in handy many a times. They alert us to habitual traffic violators, suspended drivers, expired plates. But, each officer can program it to whatever he wants to set off. And, wanted individuals, and that's not just locally wanted individuals. That's ones that are maybe wanted statewide or nationally. And it hits off the National Crime Information Center computer. But take, for example, a couple of years ago, we had a be on the lookout because one of the flock cameras on the east side of town had identified a plate as a wanted person, but also the plate was wanted in connection with a missing female juvenile from out of state.
Oh, wow.
And so, officers kind of converged on the east end. We knew that it hadn't continued on west through town. So we started working from about 18th and everything east of 18th Street. And actually, one of our officers, our actual full-time SRO, was in between two of the elementaries and came across that vehicle. And he saw it in a drive-up at a local restaurant, and we made apprehension on the driver, who was wanted on felony charges, and then also the missing juvenile that was wanted. She was from the East Coast, but I mean,
wow.
They, for people thinking they're being watched, no, it just hits on the information if there's a suspended driver, habitual traffic violator, a wanted person, stuff of that nature, but and missing people. So if they're connected with a vehicle, and then we can also use that. Say, for example, we have someone that does something here in Newcastle and flees to Muncie.
Sure.
Just a fresh, let's use shoplifting, and people from Muncie or different areas come down to Newcastle and shoplift some tools, take off. They get hit by the flock camera either in the northern part of the county or in Delaware County, and we've made apprehension. So
yeah. Okay. Moving on. We've got a question here, and I'm careful about this because I do my very best to not talk about, and I'm not trying to scare you when I say this, but to not talk about personal issues or kids. But I think that this is a very good question. We've got a commenter that says, Jim, will your sheriff's department be nepotism based? I know that Jake is a great officer. I'm assuming that's your son, who earned his way onto the position, and that was not handed to him.
Oh no, and I had no involvement in that at all.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Jake had been attended college at Anderson University, and then some other courses, and then actually had become an EMT. Was working locally. And after a couple of years, he actually told his mother and I that, hey, I want to change professions, and had no clue that he ever wanted to become a police officer. I mean,
well, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but this person just goes on to say that, unlike what they're hearing in current administration, where they're hiring either family members or close church friends and things like that. I guess my question is, this is always kind of a weird thing for me, because first responders, it seems like police, fire, doctors, lawyers, that's really a profession where you see a lot of, grandpa was a lawyer, son was a lawyer, grandson's a lawyer, or, you've got your grandpa was a sheriff's deputy and the son went to the city police department and the grandson went back to the sheriff's department. And I don't really have a problem with that, as long as the way those people are coming along is going through, with the merit commissions, and it's not something where they're getting positions over maybe other qualified candidates. I don't really have a problem with you having a familial tie to people in law enforcement, but how would you, as a leader on the sheriff's department, how do you combat that and watch out for that? Maybe not with yourself, but with other officers or whatnot. What's your thought there?
Well, I mean, I believe the way the law is written, they can't be in direct supervision, which I am not in direct supervision of Jake. The way we operate it now, yes, I am the captain of the uniform and patrol division, but his immediate supervisor is a sergeant, and then he has a lieutenant that's over the B bracket or A bracket that he's on. So there's enough distance between us. But if, he would need to be disciplined or something, that would just bypass me and go straight to the deputy chief or assistant chief and chief. So,
okay.
But not going to have to worry about that, hopefully much longer. So,
right.
But, at one time there were 3 James Nicholsons on the department, my younger cousin, and who retired, and then Jake, who's James, and
okay, that's
I
wild.
go by Jim. So
yeah, that's wild.
So,
yeah, and we had a commenter say that, obviously legacy in law enforcement is not nepotism. I know that people are very concerned about that. I tend to not be as concerned. I know that there are places where that's gone wrong, and you have situations where people are getting away with things because daddy's chief, or you've got dad's a sergeant or whatever. But I think as long as it's done well, like you're saying here, there's ways that you can deal with that. Then I don't particularly have an issue with that. But okay, let me see here. Instead of just ask quick, let me ask you this. So, I mean, when you're going out and meeting people door to door, what's your your stump speech? What are you telling people? Why, if you're coming up to me and I'm a voter of Henry County, why should I elect you? What's your go-to speech?
Well, I explained to him that I'm going to bring a different style with, cooperation between the public, also the government leaders within Henry County. We all want to work in cooperation together, and this infighting needs to stop. So, I mean, that's basically it. And that that the county's in quite the predicament right now. And I want to be one of the people that help find the cure to that. So,
sure, okay. What do you think as far as one of the things that I've been concerned about on the sheriff's department is when you have a department that is in need of new personnel and you're bringing on new deputies. I know how it was when I first got on the police department. You kind of look up to those that come before you. And when you have leadership that might not be doing things the best way, and you start to breed that culture of having these rookie officers being trained a way that might not be the very best. I've always said that I feel like the next sheriff of Henry County, whenever that might be, whether that's starting in January of next year or January of 4 years from now, whoever the next sheriff is going to have some serious untraining to do. And in law enforcement, as you know, that's kind of a hard thing to do. You know, once you've been trained a certain way, after you get so many years on, it's kind of hard to reprogram that. How's that something? I mean, do you feel like, one of the questions specifically is, do you feel that the current sheriff staff deputies need to be reorganized and maybe get a new mindset of how they treating the public and how they're treating the job? That kind of is in line with my question. What's your thought on that?
Well, there's can always be fine tuning, but let's see. There can always be fine tuning, but the supervisors, the frontline supervisors out on the street every day really do a great job and have a good working relationship with their officers. I would just expect policy to be followed and, courtesy and professionalism. So
sure, absolutely. Just kind of starting to wind her down here. We're not going to take your whole evening. Let me ask you, I know a question that's on everybody's mind is about the Henry County Sheriff's Department pursuit policy. I know that the pursuits have been heavily in people's minds because of several serious situations with pursuits.
Right.
It's one of those things that's kind of a necessary evil. Sometimes you have to look at what you're doing, why you're doing it. And maybe is it better to, shut her down and live to fight another day? What's your thought about the Henry County pursuit policy? And as sheriff, would things change under you? What would you be looking at?
Well, I would make sure it was in which I don't have any reason to not believe that the pursuit policy the county has now, it's should be compliant with state law. And, we need to prioritize and put public safety first. And, also, I guess if a critical incident does happen, we need to sit back and examine that first before we make any comments. But we have to, prioritize and have safety over apprehension. I mean, if it's a case where we know who the person is, if we have to get them later, we get them later. If they're wanted, we'll just get another warrant for them. So
sure.
But for the new charges, but it just kind of depends case by case. And that's what we have supervisors on duty for. Or if there's not a supervisor, then you have your senior officer that's on duty that can call the pursuit, as well as the officer that's, starting the pursuit.
Sure.
Right. I mean, just for example, we had a touchy pursuit here in the city. City and county officers become involved a few months back, and call came out that they had robbed one of the local stores in town. Make a long story short, after the pursuit was over, we found out that it was not a robbery. It was a shoplifting. And but those individuals put others' lives in danger, as well as officers. We stop sticked them a couple different times. Traffic was light, but then it got heavy, and we tried to back down, but the suspects went into another lane and actually traveled for about, 2 miles southbound in the northbound lanes.
Wow. Yeah.
And swerving vehicles. And the only thing is, we're involved in that. We just can't break off, which at that time we thought it was serious felonies. And, come to find out, they were throwing guns out of the car too.
Jesus.
Because our officers went back later and recovered those weapons.
Yeah.
But they tried to hit an officer that was on foot. One of the occupants, or actually the driver of the vehicle, fled, and then the rear seat passenger, she had jumped over and jumped in the seat and took off out of the ditch. She almost hit the officer that was on foot. Another officer had to strike the vehicle. However, they continued on, and one of the lieutenants and myself, we had to bring the vehicle to a stop, which we were already under orders, though. We were just about a mile from the interstate, and our chief and assistant chief had made the decision that the pursuit was going to stop before it reached the interstate.
Okay.
If it reached the interstate and they were back in the travel lanes, we were just going to let, put a bolo out, be on the lookout, and let other agencies try to locate them. So
yeah, sure. I would highly recommend, and this goes for you or for any other candidate that's running for sheriff and everybody in law enforcement, specifically in Henry County, if you have not read the comments that were published, I think it's like a 10 or 11 page document that was published by the Delaware County prosecutor as it resulted from the investigation that came from the Henry County pursuit that resulted in a fatality that came up into Muncie. If you have not read that document, I would highly recommend reading it. And I think that whoever becomes sheriff, whoever is elected to sheriff, should take a look at that and consider the words that the prosecutor is saying in that, because that was written and put together after the state police investigation into that investigation. And I think it was I think it's definitely something that everybody should take a look at. I think all law enforcement officers should read it everywhere, but specifically in Henry County, I think it would be an important thing to read. Moving on here, just a couple more questions and we'll wind her down. What do you believe could be streamlined? And maybe, I mean, obviously you've not been on the sheriff's department, being in Newcastle PD. Things are similar, but there are differences. So I understand that this might be a little hard yet, but are there things that you believe on the sheriff's department that you could do to curb spending, like by streamlining things or, giving the same service without being a detriment to the public? Are there things that you could do to streamline things to kind of cut the budget and to help with cost?
Well, I think that, that's one thing we'll have to look at. But I know that I'm trying to put together some reserve services like a lot of southern states have down south, where we have a tier system for reserves, where we have our reserve corps like we do now with reserve deputies, but then also have different tier levels where they're volunteer, but they're not sworn enforcement officers.
Sure.
Where we may have officers kind of serve as, let's say, take for example, maybe public safety officers that could take minor calls, minor accident reports, also be available for assisting with traffic details, whether it be fire, traffic collisions, or just a visual presence. Like, say, for example, we have a certain area out in the county that we're having a high number of daytime or evening burglaries. We can have those officers out in a marked car that, to the person or people that are out doing wrong, they're going to see that car. They're, even though it says public safety, they're going to see the star on the side too.
Yeah.
That, hey, they're out here watching, they're going to report us.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a, citizen watch on wheels. So,
sure. Yeah.
But,
It's very much like the first level of force, the officer in uniform or the marked car. That does a lot to cut down. So
yes.
I think there are situations where that could be a useful mechanism.
But yeah, I want to explore that idea, and also I'd like to see our reserve deputies increase and go back to not only functioning as assisting on the road and as the volunteer services, but also reserves that are available to work special details, parades, and stuff like that, which we haven't had under this administration. So,
absolutely.
But, and there's people out there that want to fulfill those duties and to assist, and we're going to try to let them. So,
absolutely. Before we wrap up here, and if you don't want to speak to this, I perfectly understand, but I thought I would give you the opportunity, because I don't think that you've been given. I mean, obviously you could have posted anything you want, but
right.
Do you want to speak to or clear up the personal attack that was levied at you at a candidate forum?
I don't believe. Just like that night, I chose to take the high road. I mean, I'm not there to put someone down. Sometimes people say stuff I don't know, out of ignorance. So
yeah, right.
But just there was a comment made about a fellow officer there too, about his parents and what they said or what they were alleged to have said. But I know I've talked to that officer, and if he wasn't pleased with that, the way it came out, because it was kind of taken out of context.
Yeah.
But,
right.
A couple other things just touch on.
Sure.
I know one of the things you can only get so much on a postcard, and that's what I've explained to folks out here, that, they should understand that we're there to, we're going to still combat drug activity. We're going to have, continue with our drug task force. We have great officers, both city and county officers, that are assigned to the drug task force. They're using new ideas right now with
You're fine.
With new ideas and a new system that they're using right now to combat the drug activity in the city and the county and the towns, and want to work in cooperation with the towns, the town boards, and what I have on my list too, on some of my goals and focus, and I published that I posted that on Facebook, but I want to start a sort of, I guess you would say, a liaison deputy program, where every deputy will also be assigned to a town or township within Henry County. And that doesn't mean they're restricted to that area, but maybe give a little extra attention when they're on duty to those areas. And then to also kind of be a facilitator. I'm going to try to make town board meetings, pop into them, but also have the liaison deputies, or the deputies are acting as a liaison for those towns and townships, to attend, even if we have to adjust their schedule on certain days, so they can attend town board meetings or special events, and to kind of get down, the happenings going on in those communities. There may be a festival coming up. We know in Moreland in August there's going to be the Moreland Fair. We want to check with the town marshal there and also the town board and see how many officers they would like, or we could base our operations out of there and have our daily roll call there.
Sure.
During the fair. And I know the sheriff's department does have a good presence there, but it would also be nice to know in other communities. Shirley, Sulphur Springs, Middletown, Knightstown, when special events are going on, when there may be a community dinner, and we can have an officer or two, or maybe even a reserve officers be in that area to help out with special projects. So.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. There's a lot of people in the comments that are saying they like that. We had a person ask what they can do if they want a sign of yours. We're directing them down at the bottom of the screen. Producer Kate has put up his Facebook page. But
let me know, because I'll have to get the sign makers out of the end. We've put out over 700 signs.
Wow.
And then we've had to replace some of the stands and some of the signs due to the high winds that we've been having this season. And I mean, it's just not affecting my signs, it's the other political candidates too. And but no, let me know, and we'll do our best to try to get those signs out. I mean,
that's a good problem to have.
Look at it this way: signs don't vote.
That's true.
People do. There's early voting, absentee voting going on right now. Really, I just want everyone to get out and vote, and vote for your candidate. I mean, I would like to win, so I would ask if I could, if you want to vote for me. But if you don't vote for me, there's others to vote for, and I mean, that's your right. So
yeah, absolutely. And just a question that one of the commenters, I don't know, he doesn't appear to be here, but I think I probably would be remiss if I didn't ask something that we see specifically in law enforcement with a lot of people that are pushing about various things with the First Amendment. Are you or can you name the 5 freedoms protected by the First Amendment?
Okay, the First Amendment, the freedom of speech or religion, right to assemble, right to petition, or freedom of press.
All right, you got him. You got him. I think you might be the first person that's ever got all 5.
But I mean, there's along with and we're all guaranteed the right to vote. So
yeah, absolutely, and that's a really important thing. Yeah, you guys are a vote center county, right? So you can go vote anywhere in the county.
Yes, right now, I believe it's open daily from 8 a.m. to 4. There's a break in there for lunch. I'd have to look. I want to say maybe it's 1 to 2 or something, or noon to 1 at 1201 Race Street. It used to be in the Justice Center, but have to go through security and all that. A lot. I think that may have deterred a lot of people. But now it's at 1201 Race Street, underneath the health department there, on the corner of 12th and Race, southeast corner, across from the courthouse. And it's like I believe it's open daily 8 to 4. With the break there and for lunch. And I believe the first 2, if I remember right, the first 2 Saturdays, or the 2 Saturdays prior to the election, I believe there will be voting on Saturdays at the vote center, and also at the church where the old Marsh Funeral used to be on South 14th Street. Just can't say enough. I hope everyone gets out and votes.
Yeah.
And tell all I would ask everyone, the listeners there, to let their friends, family, everyone, their neighbors know to vote. And I would ask for your vote. Elect Jim Nicholson for Henry County Sheriff.
Hey, I appreciate it. Real quick, one last question, and I don't know what the deal is with this. I'll be honest, but I have been inundated with people that have emailed me or messaged in the last couple of days asking if or when you were coming on, and they wanted me to ask you specifically if you have. I don't know what the deal is with this, or if there's some kind of controversy or something out there. Have you named your second in command, or is that something that you've thought on yet or not? Or what's the, I don't know what the deal is with that, but I have a lot of people that want to know.
Oh, I've had everybody ask me from A to Z who even might want to, that I might select. Even my son was mentioned, and I mean, he's not going to leave with 6.5 years on Newcastle Police Department. Why would you risk leaving that to go somewhere for minimum 4 years, maximum 8?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, right now, I don't need anyone else to be out in the open with me to try to solicit votes. I mean, I have friends that are out, but my campaign chairman is out with me. Usually he's my driver, and then also attends a lot of the functions, and he's not asking for a single thing, doesn't want a single thing out of this. And, I've got to worry about myself. I need to worry about getting Jim Nicholson elected as the next Henry County Sheriff. And I don't need to have any extra baggage or have to worry about someone else. That's, some people say, well, the president or the governor, they choose a running mate. No, they don't. The running mate's not usually made until the general election. So, example, Donald Trump and Mike Pence, they were competitors during the primary, and same with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. They were I don't know about being bitter enemies, but then they find a common ground and bring it together. So
very good. Okay, I just wanted to double check and ask you. I appreciate you taking the time to come on with us. And if you make it through, we'll have you back on in the fall. And if whether you do or you're not, if there's ever something that you want to get out or put out a message to the people, you're always welcome back here. I appreciate you coming on and speaking with us, and it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Well, know that I'm for Henry County, and I am for the people of Henry County, and again, ask for your vote in May 5th between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Vote Jim Nicholson for Henry County Sheriff.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Jim Nicholson, Captain Nicholson from the Newcastle City Police Department, running for Sheriff of Henry County. I appreciate him coming on, as I do all the candidates that talk to us. And I thank you guys all for your questions. I do want to answer one thing that was brought up that was a pretty good comment. It wasn't really a question directed at Jim, more than it was a statement, and I want to address this. And it was from Admiral Eric Lewis brought this up. Sproles has bragged about and listed a bunch of heavy gear, tech equipment that he has procured without taxpayer funding. Eric says, I don't know where he got that money, but someone should look into that. And I want to tell you that we've had a couple of people that have brought this to my attention. I heard what John had said. I am aware of some concerns that other folks, and I'll be honest, some people in law enforcement, and I'm going to just say for the record, nobody that is currently running against John has brought this to my attention. It's been other people in other law enforcement positions, maybe some from inside the Henry County Sheriff's Department, maybe some from the Newcastle City Police Department, maybe some from those small town sheriffs or marshal chief of police departments. But I've definitely had questions from people, from citizens specifically, asking about this gear and these things that Sproles has purchased. And I can tell you what he's talking about. He's talking about using commissary. He's using his commissary fund to do this. And he says, well, that's not taxpayer dollars. And while it's not specifically funds from taxes, it's money that's coming from citizens in the community, and they are taxpayers. And the commissary fund is a fund that really has to be examined and looked at closely, because there can be some hinky stuff that goes on. I am not making the allegation that anything hinky is going on here. I'm saying we have seen specifically here recently, specifically in Indiana, cases where sheriffs and their families have done some really weird things, illegal things with commissary funds. So that's something that the watchdogs, the media, the public, the citizens, the commissioners and council and people, everybody should take a close look at. I have issued a record request. To the Henry County government, to the sheriff's department, specifically for the funding in the sheriff's department, for the funding concerning commissary. And I've specifically asked for invoices for this equipment that has been purchased. I have not made a statement about this because so far everyone that's contacted me has done so behind the scenes. But that is a great question, Eric. And I'll let you know that you said somebody should be looking into this. Somebody is looking into it. And the minute that I have these records in hand, I will bring them to you. We will look at them. And if there's something fishy, we'll look at them. If there's nothing fishy, we'll look at them. I will present them to you because it's something that should be examined both ways. And if there is something that's maybe even somehow remotely questionable, maybe it's not illegal, but the citizens are like, wait a minute, I don't like this. We will take a look at all of that. So we are looking into that, and we'll bring that up. I didn't want to say that when Jim was on because I don't want to tie him or his campaign in any way to any of this. He has not brought this up. Matter of fact, no one running has brought this question to me. It's been brought up by other people within law enforcement, and some citizens have brought it up. So we are looking at that, and we will continue to look at that. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of a short show this evening. That's going to do it for us. I again want to thank Captain Nicholson for coming on and talking with us. You get out and vote. Open early voting is there. I'm not really a fan of early voting. I would say if you're gonna early vote, you need to do it at the machines. I'm not a fan of mail-in voting, to be quite honest. But if you're gonna early vote, do it at the machine by walking in and selecting the machine. But if you can at all wait until election day, that's my way. That just makes sure that you know that nothing hinky's going on. That being said, if the only way that you can vote is to early vote, then do it. If you have to mail in, if that's the only way you can do it, then by all means, certainly do it. You must vote. Get out there, get educated, know who the candidates are. Don't go in voting blindly. It is perfectly okay for you to leave races blank. I've done that many, 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 many times. There have been times I've walked into a ballot and voted for one person on the ballot and left everything else clear. So you are more than welcome to do that. And there's no issue there. I will tell everybody, a lot of people don't know this, if you go in and you've got two people in a race, don't select both people. That will spoil that vote. So don't do that. But other than that, remind me why I should vote again. I'm starting to wonder myself, but that's that. We will be back tomorrow with another candidate interview. I will be honest, I don't know who. I don't have my list in front of me. I don't know who's up. I think we might have another Henry County candidate. It's not a sheriff's candidate. I forget who it is. But then on Thursday, we get back to Delaware County. We have some Delaware County candidates. And then we're going to keep on rolling. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. Please share the show with everyone you know. Help spread the word. Get that message out everywhere. If you haven't already, please like the show. If you're out there watching on Facebook, thank you for watching. But you need to get to YouTube. You got to get over to YouTube. Start watching us on YouTube. That's how you can help us the most. But watch wherever, that's whatever. If you got to watch on Facebook, that's what you got to do. But we would like you to help us. And also remember, I have not put this out yet. I'm going to try to put it out tonight, or if not tomorrow. Here's the Sheriff Sproles bingo card. We will put this out and we will play a round of bingo during his next 2 Q&A sessions. So be looking for this everywhere. And yeah, that's it. So you guys have a great evening. God bless each and every one of you. And we will see you back here same time tomorrow. Okay. All right. Good night and goodbye.